welcome to our video about ableism, which is not a very exciting topic.
No, it's actually a really sucky topic.
It is, especially because we have a big story that we can share with you that literally happened a couple of days ago.
Big, is that the adjective we're using for that story?
No, it's a really,
disgusting? Yeah, we heard that y'all were interested in learning more about the ableism that we experience. Mm-hmm. And, there are stretches where we don't experience much.
Yeah.
And then there are moments when it's just completely flipped on its head and you realize, oh wow, it's definitely still a thing. And so we had one of those moments recently. Mm-hmm. And in fact, it was one of the worst, bouts of ableism I've ever experienced.
It was the most upfront, in-your-face, blunt kind of ableism. And I feel like a lot of ableism that sometimes we get, or Cole gets, is through comments on YouTube, and it's not as blunt because it's not in your face and someone's not saying it to your face. But this case, someone did say it to Cole's face. But before we get into that story, we should talk about what ableism is, because I think it's a new term that not a lot of people know about. I think more people that watch us, of course, know the term, but maybe quickly explain what ableism is.
Yeah, ableism is literally just discrimination based on ability. And so when you are disabled, you're treated a certain way, you're treated less than because of your disability. Mm-hmm. That's ableism. Yes. And so that can come in all shapes and forms and sizes, whether that's in hiring practices at a company or in not having an accessible entrance into an establishment or just treating people poorly with words, all of those are forms of ableism. Yes.
And there are certain forms of ableism too that aren't necessarily meant to hurt someone, but can be ableist. There's probably a better word for what I'm trying to explain. It's when someone tries to use a word to hide another word that they consider bad. So instead of saying you're disabled, they try to say you're
a person with a disability?
No. Differently abled.
Oh,
Euphemisms.
Yeah.
Euphemisms. Okay. People still have this idea that the word disabled is bad, which it's not a bad word. You can say disabled. Cole is disabled. He identifies as disabled. But a lot of times people use euphemisms.
Euphemisms.
A lot of times people use
euphemisms.
Okay. A lot of times...
You can do a bit.
Stop snorting.
I'm just snorting.
Okay, ready? A lot of times people use euphemisms like differently abled. Stop laughing.
What? I wasn't laughing. I said nice.
Okay, ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
A lot of times people use euphemisms. Cole, stop!
I was battling it with you.
Oh my god.
Alright, I'm done. I'm sorry.
Okay. A lot of times people use euphemisms like differently abled or try to use person first language like person with disabilities. And a lot of times when Cole says a certain thing, people try to correct him and say,
you should say this instead because you have special abilities or you're differently abled.
And that's a euphemism, and it's trying to replace the word disabled with a better word because disabled is viewed as a bad word, but it's not. So we see a lot of that, and when we do speaking engagements, we talk a lot about ableism, we talk a lot about language, we talk a lot about euphemisms, and trying to stray away from that.
And what's interesting about that, for me, I felt that was kind of bleeding into my psyche for a while too. I remember a few years ago feeling like I should be using those terms and saying that I'm differently abled, not disabled. It's interesting because I don't know why I felt that way, but I think it was just an external pressure that was oh, this is the right thing to say, until I finally realized, what the heck, no, I'm disabled. That's okay.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that? Now, 12 years it's been since my injury.
Yes.
Which is pretty wild. Time is flying. And it's interesting, this kind of journey in terms of how society has perceived disability over the course of that 12 years.
Well, and I feel like it's been kind of a newer thing too, especially with social media. We've been able to reach more people to kind of help change the perspective by sharing your story, by sharing our story, but that wasn't always the case. When you first got injured, Instagram was brand new.
Yeah, no, that's very true, because there's always these movements on social media. It was like, oh, we got to go after this because that's not okay. We got to fix that. Or now we got to go after this. And then eventually people decided to say, oh, we got to come over here and say differently abled and persons with disabilities. And I think that was one of the first times that the actual community came back and was like, no. Disabled is okay. We're going to stick with that. And I'm so glad that our community stood up for ourselves in that way. And also helped me remember, disabled is not a bad word. What the heck? Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
That was so interesting to me. So yeah, it's been quite an interesting 12 years with how things have progressed and just perception.
Yeah.
I'm glad we're all on the same page. Disabled's okay, everyone.
Exactly. So talking about ableism, can you remember the first ableist thing that has ever happened to you, first ableist interaction?
Where I did experience ableism that I do remember is all of a sudden, like when I would go out to restaurants and stuff, like waiters wouldn't like ask me what I wanted. They would ask my parents. Or if I went to Chipotle, they would ask whoever's like with me rather than me. They'd ask a friend. Like, I'm right here and I can speak for myself, give me that chance, please. And you'll find that I can communicate perfectly fine with you. Like little interactions like that are where I found ableism the most in the beginning. And then we started our YouTube channel and the floodgates just opened up wide.
That's when things changed and we really read the ableist comments and remarks.
Yeah, we got a lot of that. One that stuck out is like, between the two of us, we can like...
No, that's not what it said.
How was it? How did it go?
It said, sorry, I remember this because it stuck with me. It said, I don't understand how they're interabled if they're both 3/5 of a person.
Yeah.
That's what it said.
Can you believe that?
Which is a very racist remark and a very ableist remark. Because if you remember, back in the Constitution, back in the day, Black people were seen as 3/5 as a person.
So that may be one of the most disgusting things I've ever been told.
Yeah.
And also because, it was directed at my wife, or girlfriend of the time.
Yeah.
But so disgusting.
Yeah.
We get a lot of crap like that, and we've had to like block very disgusting words. People love throwing cripple out there, half man, all sorts of crap.
Yeah. Before we jump into more YouTube ableist interactions, let's talk about what happened on Friday.
Yeah, okay, so we were at the OC Fair. This was our first experience at the fair, and we saw Robin Thicke and Neo. We had a big old corn dog, played some games. It was a great time. We had fun.
We went with our friends Anthony and McKenna.
Yeah, and we had a good time, and it was about 12:30 when we're leaving. I was in my power chair because I drove my truck and I have to be in my power chair. And Charisma was riding on the back of my power chair through the parking lot so we could just get to the truck, because it's a huge parking lot. And we roll by a family, a man, I don't know, mid-30s, his wife, I assume, and young children. And as we roll by, I hear,
"Oh, what have we got going on over here?"
And I was about to say something back, just like playful, playing along as we're just busting it. And then, before I even said anything, he follows up and goes,
"You should never go full retard."
I was flabbergasted. I almost didn't even like process it for a second.
Yeah.
Because it was so out of the blue, so far afield.
Yeah.
And it was Charisma who reacted first.
Yeah. I turned around and I was like, sorry, what did you say? Because I was so shocked. Did I say excuse me?
Yeah, you hit him with the excuse me.
Excuse me? It was probably very sassy. But I turned around and I was like, excuse me, what did you say? And he like ignored us. And then Cole turns around and was like, what did you say? What was that? Did I hear you right?
I said, did you say never go full retard? And he was like, oh no, I wouldn't say that. And Charisma was like, yeah, I imagine you wouldn't in front of kids. And I said, yeah, because that's super disrespectful. And I hope you can set a better example than that. And then we kept rolling on. He didn't say anything. His wife was just looking at the ground.
Yeah.
The kids looked super awkward.
Yeah.
And I was just so flabbergasted.
Yeah. It was, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm like still flabbergasted.
No, me too. I cannot believe that he said that. I cannot believe that anyone still uses the R word. Let me just start by there.
I apologize for using it. I just wanted to use it for the sake of the story, but we do not use that word.
No, and I don't understand. Exactly. I don't understand why. I get 30, 40, 50 years ago, it was used widely to describe disabled people.
Yeah, medically.
Medically. It was used medically to describe disabled people. It was
appropriated
Yeah.
for a negative term.
Yes. And so we no longer use that term. We are in the year 2023. Why are you still using the R word? I honestly like don't fathom it. It's just ridiculous. Like, we know that this word is meant to put someone down, to question their cognitive mentality, and it's just not okay. So let's just start there and stop using that word. It really infuriates me so much.
Yeah.
I was just so flabbergasted. Both of us were just so shocked. And because he had 2 children, we had so much respect for those children that we were just like, you know what? Let's just say, hey, that was disrespectful, set a better example, and keep it moving. Like, we could have said more than that, but we chose not to. And then I know there are also people that are going to be like, oh, like, you don't need to say something every time. Like, sometimes you just need to keep moving forward. Mm-hmm. Sure, I agree with that. But in this instance, no. There needed to be something said, because do not need to be using the R word. It's just ridiculous. We're in 2023.
That can't fly. And frankly, I'm just not going to take blatant disrespect like that.
You shouldn't.
I can't. I won't. That's just not who I am.
Yeah.
You know, granted, it is frustrating that we have to think of all these factors, like, oh, what if this person goes off? What about this? What about that?
Yeah.
Well, we were leaving the fair with a crowd of people. There are lots of people around. Security on golf carts rolling around. So, like, if he did go off, like, there would have been people around. It would have been fine.
Yeah. He was obviously drunk.
I don't think it registered until after he said it. This man just has no filter, and I think he knew.
Oh, crap. I said some stupid shit again because I'm drunk and I'm an idiot.
Yeah, his wife was like,
oh, here he goes again.
Yeah, and then he just shut up.
Yeah, he didn't say anything.
And then we just rolled away as soon as we said our piece, and we never really came close to him. We were pretty far away.
Like 100 yards?
That's a football field.
Oh, like 30 yards?
Maybe 15 yards.
Okay.
There's definitely separation.
Yeah.
We said our piece, he shut up. We rolled away. But again, I just could not believe it. I've never had such blatant ableism thrown in my face like that. Mm-hmm. After 12 years. It's been 12 years. That was wild.
You've never been called the R word.
Now, that being said, in this moment, I was proud of myself because I typically am very bad in situations like that. I get super flustered. I don't know what to say. My brain just gets foggy, and I think I'm doing better because instead of like figuring out the best thing to say after, I actually said something that I'm proud of.
Yeah.
Because I expressed myself, was respectful. I didn't cross any lines. I didn't stoop to his level, and that was it. And I was able to do that in the moment, which I think that's a little milestone for me.
I agree, and you also had immense respect for the fact that he had 2 little girls with him.
Yeah. Well, I feel bad for those children.
Yeah.
And it sucks because now that's what they're growing up with, hearing their dad call people in wheelchairs the R word.
Yeah. My thing is, if he can call someone the R word so blatantly to their face, what is he saying behind people's back? How is he treating anyone who looks differently than him? And I just feel like behind closed doors, it's so much worse than it was just then. I don't think that he has respect for anyone that isn't him and doesn't look like him.
In the home where those children are being raised.
And they're being taught that. So it's just really unfortunate and really sad. So yeah, that was our interaction, our experience at the fair. Other than that, it was a great time. It was just really bad, like our last experience, it kind of left that impression on us. It was so late at night, we were already exhausted. It took 3.5 hours to drive there from where we lived. It was just a rough day getting there, so we were just like, come on. There aren't many ableist interactions in person that Cole deals with, that we see, that we interact with. But when it comes to our YouTube channel and our comments, we'll say there's daily ableist comments, discriminatory comments, people viewing Cole as less than, not able to make his own decisions for himself. And it is frustrating, actually.
Yeah. And it comes in all shapes and sizes on YouTube and comments too. Cole's looking big. Charisma, why are you feeding him so much?
Cole's looking thin. Charisma, why aren't you feeding him enough?
Yeah.
Cole's looking tired. Charisma, you should make sure Cole gets rest.
Mm-hmm.
What the heck?
I know. It's like people don't realize that you can make your own decisions and you're a grown adult, and I am not your mother.
No.
I am not Cole's mother, guys. I am his wife.
Do I have like kid energy or something?
You know, and I think with
Is
that
it my
too.
fault? Do I bring this on myself?
No, I don't think so, but like I think that naturally for some reason, like we don't often talk about adults with a disability, right? We talk about children with disabilities, we talk about the elderly with disabilities, but we don't talk about that middle adults with disabilities. And so when we think about children with disabilities, we have when we think about children in general, have this certain like mentality, we treat them differently, we try to educate them. And for some reason, I think even as a couple, when people see us, they sometimes question our ability to be successful in a certain area, to do certain things because you're disabled. I saw a comment the other day on the fact that we moved here saying, if I had a disabled husband, I would have never moved away from family. Why does Cole's disability mean that he has to be with family at all times and he is not able to move away from family? Because if Cole wasn't disabled, that comment wouldn't have been said.
There's like an assumption that my experience should be limited because of my disability.
Yeah.
And I don't think that that's the case at all, especially in the world today. Well, I wouldn't say the world. I understand in other countries, unfortunately, that's not the case because accessibility isn't universal everywhere. In America today, there's opportunity for me to have a very full life. We here in America can go places and do things and move if we want to, and that's our choice. We have every right to do that, and it's like there's an assumption that I can't, that I need like so much support and I need all this and I need all that, and it's like we know what we need. And we know better than anyone will ever know what we need. We just want there to be the trust in us that we can make sound decisions and we're capable.
Yeah.
Because we're differently abled, you know? I'm kidding. We're capable of not having a limited experience. We're capable of having the experience we want.
Yeah. When people express certain things, like starting a family, it's much easier to be closer to family. I agree with that. Whether there's someone in the relationship has a disability or not, that's the same for universally for all couples. And I totally agree with that statement there. I just don't like when people say we can't do something or how they wouldn't do something because their partner's disabled or because of a disability, because I don't think that necessarily is fair. It's just sad. It's just sad that like not everyone can just love people based on who they are on the inside, and they are so judgmental on who someone is on the outside. Makes me sad.
It is sad.
Yeah.
We need to get rid of all the isms.
The isms, yes, all the isms.
It's causing too many schisms.
What?
A schism is like a break.
Oh my gosh.
Culturally, we're breaking all these schisms from the isms.
I did not know that word. Good one, babe.
Thank you. That was a good one.
It was a good one. It was a good one. So. How many of y'all have LG dishwashers, washing machines, refrigerators? Because clearly we do.
I like singing.
So that is our conversation about ableism. YouTube is the worst. You know, other social media, like Instagram is not that bad. TikTok can be bad.
Yeah, but it's a bunch of 16-year-olds, so again, it's like
maturity. But YouTube is a bunch of, we know our following, we can tell the age range of our following, and majority of our following is between the ages of 30 and 60. And so I feel like that's an age where we understand what we're saying and how it affects people, and we just got to be more mindful, and I think we're still learning. You know, I can't fully fault people for having this ideology that was so ingrained in them from a young age that it's hard to change that mentality. It's hard to not think that way, but as long as you're open to learn, that's important.
It's a different world. I mean, it's only been 25 years? No, about
88?
Yeah, 30. 30 years, 30 years since 88. So, I mean, for all the 50-year-olds out there, they grew up in a world where disabled people weren't out and about, you know, when the R word was still used commonly. It is a different world, so we have to continue learning and continue being open-minded, and it's just going to continue changing. And now, more than ever, our community, the disabled community, is thriving, is getting out and thriving. So we appreciate y'all giving us your ear. There can't be change without open-minded people, so thank you. It means a lot, it really does.
Yeah.
Appreciate y'all very, 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 very much.
Yes.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for learning. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and stay positive.
Ooh,
12 years. One more anniversary in the books.
Yes.